Everyone has their own way to innovate and make breakthroughs. Taking a break doesn't mean slacking off. Work smart, and it's amazing how much you can easily get done. Finding overseas markets difficult to grasp? With the right partner, anything is possible. Technology changes fast. We make sure the latest information is always at your fingertips. At BOCHK, we understand that innovation comes from expanding what's possible. Through agile use of technology, we connect you closer to your ambitions. Understanding brings us closer. Bank of China, Hong Kong.
All right, we are back in action on the stage here at Hong Kong FinTech Week, and we're taking a look at a Dynamo, Project Dynamo, in our next session powered by our friends at the BIS Innovation Hub. Now, hello, oh, they're coming right at me. They don't want to wait. They're like following me right up on stage. Here they come. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll give them an intro while they're seated. Let's hear, these guys are key. Let's hear it for them as they come. So, tokens have made their way into finance, into property and real estate, but now they are making their way into the wonderful world of trade. And we are going to find out about how tokens, ideally, and perhaps in the future, can help to reform the creaky old systems of trade finance and blow them away with something new. Here on stage today, we have Ernest Ho. Ernest Ho is the head of digital assets at the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, our central bank for Hong Kong. There we go. We have Mr. Pursuit Lee. Mr. Pursuit Lee is the head of international business at Linklogis. We also welcome from Standard Chartered Bank, Stephen Hu, who is their head of digital assets and trade and working capital. Great to have them. And the woman in charge of this from the BIS Innovation Hub, where she's the leader, is Lucy Wong. So Lucy, are you ready for this?
Yes, definitely.
All right, let's do it. Project Dynamo, go.
All right, thank you for the very warm introduction. Right, let's see if you can see our slides are not being loaded. No worries at all. So, hi everyone, my name is Lucy. I'm an advisor at the Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub Hong Kong Center. And I have been the lead on Project Dynamo, a joint project with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, together with private sector project partners, including Standard Chartered and Linklogis. So we closed the project in June this year. So very happy today that we have the opportunity at the FinTech Week to give you a taste of what we have delivered with the project. So Project Dynamo delivered a prototype platform using stablecoin or digital tokens for SME finance in a supply chain setting. So some of you might be very familiar with the funding challenges faced by SMEs. According to a World Bank report, in emerging markets alone, the funding gap faced by SMEs is $5.2 trillion every year. And according to another report, a significant part of SMEs are part of global supply chains, and their funding needs is in the majority related to trade finance. So in the current supply chain setting, most of the transactions are done on an open account basis. So that means the buyers don't pay until the ships have been shipped. And that creates a significant funding challenges on the suppliers. And if we look at a supply chain setting, when you get to the bottom of the supply chain, many of the suppliers are SMEs. So they face significant funding challenges, and they have to rely on their own savings to fund their manufacturing activities. So what we explored in Project Dynamo is to use stablecoin or digital token as a means of programmable and transferable means of settlement in the supply chain. So how does it work? So when on the prototype platform, we have the anchor buyer and a chain of suppliers. And we also have a digital token issuer on the same blockchain-based platform. And when the anchor buyer places a purchase order with the first-tier supplier, it at the same time transfer a digital token to that supplier. The token will be programmed with different conditions on it. The condition can be action-based. So for instance, the payment will only be effected if electronic bill of lading is issued on a third-party trade finance platform. And it could be time-based. For instance, the payment would only happen on or after a certain date. Or it could be data-based. So for instance, the payment would only be made if a certain supplier has met an ESG rating. So once the token is transferred to the tier 1 supplier, the supplier has 3 options of dealing with that token. So the first option is to hold on to that token until all the conditions programmed on the token are met, and then the supplier will get paid automatically because everything has been programmed on smart contracts. The second option is to transfer all or part of that token to its own suppliers. So that's the tier 2 supplier. So because the tier 1 supplier needs to subcontract part of the purchase order to the second tier supplier or purchase raw materials from the second tier supplier, so it needs to pay that second tier supplier. Instead of paying in cash or in other method of payment, it can use the token for that purpose. And the third option is to sell that token to the institutional investors that we think would be interested in provide funding to the suppliers. So what are the benefits for the institutional investors? They have, because it's a blockchain-based platform, it provides visibility to the investors on the entirety of that transaction. And it also provides them an opportunity to look at the past performance records of all the suppliers. So we believe that might potentially make a difference. So that's a quick summary of what Project Dynamo is about. So let me turn to our project partners. So Pursuit, I want to start with you first. Linklogis has a long-established track record in supply chain finance. What do you see are the biggest benefits brought by tokenization and blockchain and smart contracts? And what do you see are the other potential use cases for this type of tokens?
Okay, sure. Thank you so much, Lucy, for the introduction. And obviously, it's my pleasure to be here on the stage. So speaking of tokenization, right, in Linklogis, we have been focusing on a wide array of the Web3 initiatives. So Dynamo is for sure one of them, is where we see there is a huge opportunities where if we can utilize the stablecoin technologies and the smart contract technologies on the distributed ledger technologies to create something that is useful for the trade. And when it comes to trade, the problem we usually face is on, let's say, international cross-border transactions. How can you make sure that you can remit, let's say, with the traditional payment scheme, you remit with the SWIFT message, but they are usually subject to, let's say, different business day and all that, right? So the gap and all these, the settlement gap would be quite a concern. So with the tokenization technologies, we can sort of make all these transactions on the blockchain, and all blockchain transactions, they are immediately effected, irrevocable, and so we can make these to be circulated on a cross-border basis internationally. And then speaking of what are the interesting use cases that we can think of, apart from just financing, one thing I can, and I strongly advocate to all the users along the chain to try out, is the sustainability related payment. So think about, like, as a buyer, you may be looking for different avenues to try to influence your suppliers in behaving well in terms of meeting the ESG targets. For example, like your Scope 3 emission targets. It pertains to how these suppliers emit the carbon gas that will also affect your own Scope 3 target. So can we sort of introduce them as solution where the buyer can then make payments with some like ESG targets, and then the suppliers will only be able to receive these payments if the targets are being met. So if we can really push this forward, commercialize it, then it will be a great opportunity.
Great, thank you, Pursuit. So Stephen, let me turn to you. So during the project, we explored 3 options of structuring the tokens. So we worked on structuring backing the token one-to-one with fiat currency, and put aside in the custodian account. The second option was to back it one-to-one with deposits in a bank account. And then the third option that we explored was backing it with a letter of guarantee either from the anchor buyer itself or from the anchor buyer's relationship bank. So can you share with us in terms of what do you see are the pros and cons of each type of structuring the token? And what do you see as the commercial viability of each option of structuring the tokens?
Sure. Standard Chartered participation in Project Dynamo actually is part of our efforts to drive the real-world utility of the digital assets. So in this case, as you mentioned, these digital tokens were used to facilitate the SME financing, and in turn, it will help to stimulate the growth of the real economy. So I think the bigger picture is that as an industry, we're at a crossroad. So the path we choose today will have long-lasting implications to the future of the money and the financial infrastructure. Therefore, it's very important for commercial bank to take a more proactive approach to evaluate the different options of the money and build an asset and liability network that is ready for the next decades. Fiat currency-backed digital tokens are easy to understand. It requires less effort in terms of market education. I think it's also more likely to achieve the regulatory and the legal clarity in market, for example, in Singapore or in Hong Kong. And there are rules in place to regulate the governance, the issuance, the stabilization mechanism, the wallet to support such tokens, for example, both in Hong Kong and in Singapore. And we have started to see more and more regulators giving priority to regulate the tokens actually that are proposed to reference to one or more fiat currencies. But the commercial challenge is really that not all the anchor buyer enterprises in the supply chain may be motivated to adopt the fully cash-backed digital token because this will have a liquidity and cash flow implications to their businesses, right? And we have tested to apply programmability to the tokens, for example, applying a lock and lock feature, very similar to the way that we do earmarking today, and achieve some promising results from technology standpoint. But there are more work required to reach a conclusion. But if you, on the other hand, if you look at the digital token backing by a bank guarantee or a corporate guarantee, I think there will be less implication in terms of liquidity and cash flow to the anchor buyer. So there's a chance to trigger a chain effect of adoption starting from the buyer side in the supply chain. But it is, I think it's unlikely to fall within the current stablecoin regimes, I think in both Hong Kong and also in Singapore, because it does not fulfill the cash and cash equivalent reserve requirements. And ordinarily, the guarantee shouldn't be considered as a cash equivalent, right? So, so in a nutshell, the commercial viability is really a function of legal requirements, regulations, the business needs, and the client demands. I think the collaboration, public-private partnership are going to be the key to achieve the adoption commercially.
Very well said, Stephen. And about the public and private collaboration, that brings us to our public sector representative, Ernest. You are the head of digital finance at the HKMA. The division was set up a year ago. So first of all, happy anniversary. Can you share with us, like, what have been your priorities for the past year? And looking forward, I mean, what are your takeaways from this particular project? And what are your priorities, say, for the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Lucy. So yeah, as Lucy said, I'm now leading a new division within the HKMA. It's called Digital Finance Division. Obviously, one of the important jobs of us is our team is to coordinate all the virtual asset-related initiatives internally within the HKMA. But also, we're also tasked to think about and looked into, for example, all sort of emerging technologies that could potentially be transformative, not only to the daily work of the HKMA, but also to the broader financial sector. And we looked at it not only from a technology standpoint, but also from more importantly, from a policy and regulatory standpoint. And because of that, for example, we talk about our priorities right now in the near term. Right now, our team is working on the stablecoin regulatory regime in Hong Kong. Our plan is to implement it by hopefully next year, subject to legislative processes. And also in the very near term, in due course, we are going to publish a public consultation paper on our legislative proposal. So please stay tuned. Give us any feedback, comments you might have. Anything would be highly appreciated. In terms of Project Dynamo, to me, it's exactly the kind of project that we want to participate in, and it's a pleasure for us to be a part of it for just many different reasons. For example, it's an innovative use of tokens. It has we talked about different kinds of tokens, whether it's stablecoin, fiat-backed stablecoin, or other types of tokens. And also, it touches on a lot of the important, things that we as HMA want to achieve. For example, financial inclusion, and I think Pursuit talk about sustainability. These are all the stuff that we want to achieve better with, technological innovation. So I think this is a project that we are very, very honored to be part of, and I'm sure it's going to be a successful project down the road.
Thank you very much. And actually now, Pursuit, let me come back to you. We closed the project in June, and can you give us a view on what has been your progress in terms of commercialization of the project, really implemented in real life? What do you see are the main adoption challenges? What's stopping us from reaping the benefits from this sort of innovation?
Okay, sure. So regarding the commercialization, obviously we are doing something on that, and hopefully by early next year we can make some announcements. So to stay tuned with us. And then as for challenges, I see I echo with Stephen's point as well. So regarding the regulatory certainty and also the inconsistency of the regulations, can a token be issued in one country be used in another country? So all that will sort of impact the usability of the token. Because we are talking about trade is just a cross-border thing by nature. And another aspect is perhaps on education. So although the token itself has a bunch of really good features, it may take time for the audience to understand what the token is about. And all that will take time, but obviously we are working hard on that, and hopefully we can do something. Sure.
Great, that's very good to hear. And Stephen, when we talked about trade finance, many people think that's the home turf of banks, right? But now we're actually presenting the case where a FinTech firm could come in and provide trade finance. So what do you see are the competitive advantages of a bank in the increasingly digitalized world? And what are the relevant initiatives Standard Chartered is undertaking?
2023, I would say, is really the first year in the era of a real-world asset tokenization. So if you see Standard Chartered as well as other mainstream financial institutions have already embarked on the journey of tokenization to prepare our client for the future new economy. In terms of competitive advantage, I think there's at least several things I want to highlight here. I think the first is actually the asset. There are many tokenization initiatives at this moment that are aiming to drive the demand, but I think the challenge down the road is to ensure there's a sufficient supply of the asset. Banks, commercial banks, have a strong origination capacity and have a large asset base, which is, to me, a killer advantages in the tokenized economy. That will be the first competitive advantage, I would say. So I think the second one is actually more from the trust perspective. Unlike cryptocurrencies, the asset tokenization requires an instant and a smooth connection between the blockchain and also the real world to ensure the underlying assets are real, are not misused, and also not being double spent. So there is a need for a centralized authority. Through the various pilots that we have done, we have already concluded that it is not realistic to achieve a full scale of a decentralization in the asset tokenization world. So the banks are the trust anchors, and banks also is the bridge between the real world and also the asset. So apart from Project Dynamo, we have also focused on the use case of originate to distribute. I think we have collaborated with the Linklogis to develop an initial token offering platform that repackage thousands of trade and working capital loans into fungible token that can be traded in the secondary market. So a lot of interesting stuff is going on. I think we are looking at more from both the origination to the distribution side, the full life cycle of those assets.
Great, that's very great to hear. And Ernest, I really want to end this panel in a very forward-looking note. So can you share with us what do you see as the future of digital finance in Hong Kong? And for lots of the companies who are present already operating in Hong Kong today, or those who are considering starting their business in Hong Kong in the sector of digital finance, what could they expect? What should they watch out for?
Yeah, sure. It's indeed a forward-looking question. I don't have a crystal ball, honestly, but I can talk all day about Hong Kong, FinTech, and also the fact that regulators, financial regulators like the HMA, SFC, we all together want to provide regulatory clarity to everybody who are interested in FinTech and even crypto, virtual asset space. But I think what I'm going to talk about now is really how I feel about this year. I was in the FinTech week last year, and this year I'm here. I can truly feel that things are happening here in Hong Kong. Just think about all the interesting discussion you had with the people next to you, everybody in this conference and also during the whole week. Just think about the enthusiasm of the banking sector and also other ecosystem partners like Linklogis about all this. And I feel like it just tells me that things are happening in Hong Kong, and it just keeps me so busy every day. And I really hope that this will continue, and the Hong Kong FinTech journey, and also not just FinTech, to be honest, the overall broader technology journey is just beginning. We're going to be just carry on with the journey and just keep going. And so I think again, I can talk about all day about what's the future going to be like in Hong Kong in terms of digital finance. But again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I feel like the momentum is there, and I feel like I can certainly feel the enthusiasm of everybody who want to be part of this.
Okay, thank you so much for wrapping up our panel in such an optimistic and positive and uplifting way. So I'll maybe just turn to the rest of the panelists and see if they have any closing remarks that you want to add that we haven't touched upon.
Sure, maybe I'll take it first.
Right.
So for me, I myself, I'm super enthusiastic about the future of the Web3 technologies and the application of obviously tokenization in this aspect into international trade. For me, I personally believe these marry really well each other. So I really hope that with the proper regulatory clarities, we are going to do something big and do something real here. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess to pursue point, I think there was discussion about fiat-backed stablecoin and potential use cases and other type of tokens with even possibly more interesting use cases. I think obviously we're working on the stablecoin regime right now, but the market is just evolving so quickly every day. I think we are obviously ready to listen to the market's feedback and also sort of just change or revise our regime if needed. If that's what the market think is going to be interesting and important for them. So again, just want to do some advertising here again. So we're going to publish a public consultation paper very soon. Please feel free to find some time to read through it and give us more comments and feedbacks. Thank you.
Right. Any last words for Stephen?
I think collaboration is going to be the key. This is such a new space, and tokenization is a journey that we are all part of, right? So we feel very privileged to work with the FinTech partners, also with the regulators, to be on the same journey. I think we have the same destination, and as long as we collaborate, work together, I think we can achieve a very good outcome and bring you a new tokenized economy to life.
Right. Very well said. Thank you. So, well, unfortunately, that's the end of our panel. If you want to understand further about Project Dynamo, please feel free to search BIS Innovation Hub Project Dynamo. you'll be able to find our website, and you will be able to download the full project report. And this year, for the first time, the BIS Innovation Hub has set up a booth here at FinTech Week. Our booth is right next to the Hong Kong GBA stage. Please feel free to drop by. You'll be able to see the innovation projects undertaken by our global centers. And we are also joined by the central banks of Norway, Malaysia, and Thailand, presenting their very important innovation initiatives. So please feel free to stop by, talk to us if you have questions about our projects. And with that, I would say we want to wish you a very successful time here at the FinTech Week. And thank you for coming to our panel. And please give it up to our excellent panelists.